A horse walks into a bar. Bartender asks, "Why the long face?" I walk into a bar. Bartender asks, "Why the long hair?" Well, actually, there's a long story behind my long hair. I'll share that with you now. Every June, I work at a conference in Springfield for a few days. I always get my hair cut right before I go so that I look presentable to all the people who see me only once a year. So when I was given a cancer diagnosis in late May, I was already overdue for a haircut. My doctor told me that chemotherapy might cause all my hair to fall out. It would probably take a few weeks. Well, I wasn't about to waste $10 on a haircut if it's going to fall out anyway, so I decided to wait and see. Those few weeks came and went with no hair loss, at least no more than I've been experiencing in the past few years anyway. But my next MRI scan was scheduled for August 7th. The results of that scan would determine whether or not I needed more chemotherapy. So I decided to put the haircut off for another month. My cancer treatment wasn't just chemotherapy. I also had surgery that left me with a large incision in my abdomen right about the waistline. Looked like I'd had a C-section. Due to this wound, it was more comfortable for me not to tuck in my shirt. I decided to adopt my longer hair in my untucked shirt as an intentional look. I thought I'd look like a West Coast techie. I probably looked more like a Midwest meth lab cook, but I could hope that I was doing a little bit better. By the time my August 7th scan rolls around, my hair was longer than it had been since I joined the National Guard when I was 17. That scan came back clean. My next scan wouldn't be until February. Then I'd hatch my plan. I'd keep growing my hair, then I'd donate it to one of those Locks of Love types organizations that makes wigs for kids with cancer. It'd be my way of being thankful for my own health, helping those who aren't as fortunate, and feeling self-righteous and extravagantly generous without giving up one thin dime. Plus, unlike people who only cut off the end of their long ponytails, I'm willing to cut my hair down to the scalp. Shouldn't take that much longer to meet the required 8-inch length. My decision wasn't a popular one. My wife and my mother, the only two women in the world who've ever really loved me, mocked me and said that I looked like a girl. But stating the purpose of helping kids with cancer has a way of silencing the critics. Their accusations didn't go unheard, though, and I was already concerned about this. So to avoid any chance of gender confusion, I had facial hair to accompany my long hair. Now it occurred to me with my long hair and unshaven face, I looked very much like Brad Pitt in the summer movie World War Z. Then I checked a mirror and found that rather than Brad Pitt, I simply looked like a version of my former self, who's been lost at sea for a few months. All of this talk of hair lengths brings to mind everyone's favorite long-haired dude in the Bible, Samson. Samson's another great Bible story that's popular with the kids because it involves more carnage and killing than a Sylvester Stallone movie marathon. It all started when Samson's mother, who had been barren, was visited by an angel who told her that she'd have a baby and he should be a Nazarite for life. That basically means don't cut your hair, drink wine, or handle dead bodies. Well, I found that abstaining from haircuts isn't really all that hard. Wine's a little bit tougher, but it can be done. And being prohibited from handling dead bodies can only be a plus in my book. Samson's story starts out as a typical one. Boy meets girl from the wrong side of the tracks. Boy marries girl. Girl talks boy into telling her the answer to his riddle, then she tells his enemies. Boy gets mad, goes back home to his parents' house. Girl's father gives her to the boy's best man. Boy gets madder, sets 300 foxes on fire and turns them loose to burn down the enemy's crop fields and olive orchards. Then the girl and the father get killed by the enemy in retribution. After that, the Philistines decide to take out Samson once and for all, due to his flaming foxes prank. When they move to do this, he kills 1,000 of them with the jawbone of a donkey, which has led to many biblical scholars to speculate. Just imagine what he could have done if he'd used the whole donkey. You also have to question the logic of the last 800 of them to take him on after he killed the first 200. When it was all over, he must have had a real hard time sticking to that don't handle dead bodies rule. The next notable event in Samson's life was a one-nighter with a hooker that ended up with some vandalism, but yeah, After that, Samson met and fell in love with Delilah. We all know Delilah's story. She's paid 1,100 pieces of silver to sell him out. 3 times she asked him the source of his strength. 3 times he made something up. 3 times when the Philistines came for him, they were in for a surprise. But she kept bugging him. Finally, he gave in and said his strength was due to his long hair. She had his head shaved when he was asleep, and she collected her cash. The Philistines bound him and gouged out his eyes. After some of his hair grew back, and I've learned that it grows about 1/2 inch per month, his strength came back. He was able to use it to topple the house where the Philistines were having a big party, killing himself, but also killing more Philistines than he'd ever killed before, which is quite a lot of Philistines. So what's the point of the whole story of Samson? Maybe the story of Samson is just there for some light entertainment. In the red box of the Bible, Samson's like a Will Smith movie. Lots of action, love interest or two, a little crazy at times. But there's always a moral to the story, even in Bad Boys or Men in Black. One obvious moral to Samson's tale is that if you stay faithful to God, he'll help you kill a whole bunch of people that you don't like, especially if you're willing to die in the process. That's not been a very popular moral to teach, especially in the last 10 years or so. Another point that you've heard whispered among men whenever Samson comes up: never trust a woman. But when you read the story closely, you'll see there's plenty of blame to go around with both genders. Some say Samson's just another dumb jock story, a gifted athlete that goes pro and can't keep himself out of trouble despite his superpowers. But let's not be too hard on Samson. He didn't choose his lot in life. He had a God-given gift of being the baddest man in the whole bad town. From the Judeo-Christian point of view, he's a superhero, because all the killing he did was of the bad guys, the Philistines. But in the end, he's tired. His second wife betrayed him as quick as the first, and she did it 3 times in a row. Then she kept bugging him about it. So when he told her that if his head was shaved, he'd be just like everyone else, I think maybe at that point, being like everyone else didn't sound quite so bad to him. But he wasn't everyone else. He was Samson. He didn't go on to lead a quiet, normal life. He's imprisoned with his eyes gouged out. That put him in the perfect position to do some serious soul searching. And then he prayed, the only prayer we know of that he ever prayed. He asked God to give him back his strength, one more time, to do what he's born to do, the one thing he was really good at. But he did it in a big way. Let's pray. Dear Lord, we can see a lot in Samson's story: hubris, obedience, love, rage, commitment, betrayal. May we use this story to reflect on who we are, what gifts we've been given, what gifts we've given up because we're tired, and what we can still do to live out our purpose in life.